Today, I want to speak about what John Gotti did when he realized that the Lucchese and Genovese families were targeting him. And the reason he became a target was the hit on Paul Castellano that went down on December 16, 1985. And within the days that followed, it became apparent who was responsible. This breach of protocol enraged Chin Gigante, who was a stickler for the rules. John Gotti had never received permission, or even asked the commission for that matter, to take a boss out. So Chin had two objectives. For starters, he wanted to make an example out of Gotti, but he also wanted to send a strong message to any young Turks out there not to get the same ambitious ideas. So as a sitting boss, for Chin, it became a matter of self-preservation. In his disgust with Gotti, Chin, the ultimate puppet master, voices disapproval on Gotti's actions, and his words fell on the sympathetic ears of Vicamuso and Gaspipe, who at that time was in line to take the Lucchese reins over, because the Lucchese boss Tony Ducks and his administration were under indictment in the commission case. But Tony Ducks was thinking along the same lines and told Chin that he was in agreement that Gotti had to go. Vicamuso told Chin that the Lucchese family would be willing participants to handle Gotti, which was a strategic move for Vic. In this situation, Vic had to choose a side, and naturally he chose Chin's. So Chin and the Lucchese family put their plan together. Strike one took place just 4 months after Gotti was appointed the official Gambino boss. On April 13, 1986, Gotti's underboss, Frankie DeCicco, was blown up by a car bomb outside Jimmy Brown's Social Club on 86th Street in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn. The bomb did not take out its intended target, which obviously was Gotti, but a victory for Chin nevertheless. By removing DeCicco, he just took away a very powerful Gotti ally. The reason the bomb was the weapon of choice, they wanted the Gambino family and everyone else to think this was the work of the Cherry Hill Gambinos, specifically John and Joe Gambino, who were related to Carlo Gambino and obviously close to Carlo's cousin, Paul Castellano. Chin's thinking was, being the Sicilians are prone to using explosives, he figured all fingers would point to the Cherry Hill Gambinos, and in turn, hopefully cause an internal war within the Gambino family. This train of thought displays the underhanded treachery that plays a major part of that life. A possible strike two took place on April 29, 1987, when a stocky guy wearing a black overcoat was lurking in the doorway of a flower shop across the street from the Bergenhunt Fish Club. At one point, he stepped out and fired a shot at John Gotti, who was talking to his brother Pete in front of his club. The guy was immediately chased down and either pistol whipped or shot and thrown into a car. It's been reported he was driven to a Staten Island candy store named Paul's Sweet Shop, which was owned by Joe the Cat LaForte, an old-time Gambino member. The shooter was taken in the basement of the store and questioned by Joe Watts, who would later describe the guy as a bug, who wasn't making sense when he was being questioned and was talking about God. The following day, the police found the shooter in a body bag, still in the basement of the store. He'd been shot several times in the head. On September 21st, 1987, an FBI bug picked up a conversation in a Hoboken, New Jersey restaurant named Casella's. The restaurant was owned by a Genovese member, Martin Casella. The bug picked up Bobby Manna, who at the time was the Genovese consigliere, and members of his inner circle discussing a plot to kill both John and Jean Gotti. On September 30th, 1987, FBI agent George Gabriel went to John Gotti's house to warn him that his life was in danger. He didn't say who was involved, but he did tell him it was coming from the west side. Gotti listened but made no comment. Bobby Manna would be convicted 2 years later in 1989 on a RICO case which included the conspiracy to murder John and Jean Gotti. Strike three took place on November 6, 1990. The target would be Eddie Lino, who prior to being inducted into the Gambino family was a major junk pusher. Following his induction, he became one of the shooters on a Castellano hit. Subsequent to that, he was elevated to a captain's position. Chin's strategy was to weaken Gotti's inner circle. When it comes to a crew, money affords power, but ultimately, a crew's strength comes from the capable guys who are capable to put work in. As for the Lino hit, Gaspipe handed the work over to his two corrupt detectives, Louis Eppolito and Stephen Caracappa. According to Gaspipe, he believed he paid the detectives somewhere in the neighborhood of $70,000. The detectives started tailing Lino after he left his social club, and while he was driving on the Bell Parkway in his Mercedes. At some point, they pulled him over onto the service road on East West 5th Street in Coney Island, Brooklyn. They pulled alongside his Mercedes and flashed their badges and shot him, causing him to crash into a nearby fence. Caracappa got out, walked over to the car, and emptied more bullets into Lino. When the detectives completed their mission, Eppolito called Bert Kaplan, Gaspipe's associate, and told him, "I got good news. We got Eddie Lino." When Lino's body was discovered and it became a crime scene, a detective, Mary Dugan, found a black square-faced watch near the curb of the Bell Parkway. During Eppolito and Caracapa's trial, a photo admitted into evidence shows Caracappa a year before Lino's murder wearing the same watch. Strike 4 was Bobby Borriello, a Gambino member who was very close to both John Gotti and his son John Jr. In fact, he was in John Jr.'s crew at one time and eventually became the acting captain of that crew. Borriello's wife remembered getting a visit at her house from a detective, Louis Eppolito, who flashed his badge and asked if her husband lived there. She explained that her husband wasn't home, and the detective just said that he would be back. On April 13, 1991, the Lucchese family sent Frankie Lastarino to hit Borriello. He caught him in his driveway and pumped several bullets into him. This murder hit the Gottis the hardest because of their closeness to Borriello. At first, John Gotti didn't peg Chin as the person targeting members of his inner circle. However, it didn't take long before he figured out Chin and the Lucchese family were headhunting him and those close to him. But John Gotti didn't react the way most people would expect him to. The attempt on Gaspipe on September 6, 1986, 6 months after DeCicco's murder, is the exception. Although Gotti most likely gave a nod of approval, the attempt on Gaspipe had more to do with Angelo Ruggiero and Mickey Boy Paradiso. So how did John Gotti deal with the Chin? Not by means of violence. Conversely, he went after his pocket and then used a more political method. I spoke about Bobby Manor being overheard discussing a plot to kill John and Jean Gotti. One of the issues that the West Side had with Gotti, besides the unsanctioned hit of Castellano, was the Gambinos began an encroachment campaign in New Jersey. The Gambino family, on Gotti's orders, began systematically taking over territory that once traditionally displayed a Genovese family flag. And as I mentioned, Gotti's next move was one more of a political nature. A year after Bobby Manor's plot to kill the Gotti brothers, in 1988, Chin and Gotti attended a commission meeting. It would be the first face-to-face for these two enemies. Also in attendance was the Lucchese boss, Vicamuso. At this meeting, Gotti was banking on two decisions, both which would be totally to his benefit. He began by advocating for two different bosses. The first was to have Vic Arena recognized as the official Colombo boss and given a commission seat. Next, he pushed to have the Bonanno family's commission seat reinstated, with Joe Messino as their boss. The Bonannos lost their seat after the Donnie Brasco ordeal, as well as all their heroin dealing. Strategically, this would give Gotti an advantage in commission votes. Naturally, Messino and Arena, out of loyalty, would vote with him. But this fact wasn't lost on Chin. He approved recognizing Arena, but said he wanted to hold off on the Bonanno's reinstatement for a future commission meeting. It was a pure stall tactic, and Vicamuso seconded Chin's decision, which confirmed to Gotti that the two bosses were acting in concert against him. So in the end, John Gotti tried to beat Chin at his own game. The only problem was, while Gotti was playing checkers, Chin, as usual, was playing chess. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please remember to hit the like button. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, you could do that as well. And if you think friends and family might enjoy this video, please share it and thank you. Continue to leave your comments down below, and I thank everyone who does comment. I also want to take the time to thank all the new subscribers to the channel, and I thank all the old subscribers as well. I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their Sunday, and I'll catch you on the next one.